Okay, so today we're going to be doing factoring trinomials, which is 6.6. And the trinomials we're going to talk about have a leading coefficient of 1. So what that means is I have ax squared plus bx plus c. And notice that each of these are going to be your numbers, your coefficients. In the problems we're going to work with today, that a is going to be 1, which will make your life a lot easier. That leading coefficient will be 1, okay? As you're asked to factor that, you want to kind of do the reverse of FOILing. So what binomials am I going to multiply together, or do that box FOILing method to get back up to this trinomial? So you're kind of working backwards of what you've done in the past. So let's see what this looks like with an actual trinomial problem for us to factor. Let's look at this one. X squared plus 5x plus 6. Now how do I factor that? Well, I know it's going to need to be factored into two binomials. And I've got to think about, so what can I put in this leading position in each of these binomials so that when I multiply this times this, I get x squared? Well, that's easy. That's going to be x times x. So x times x gives me x squared. Okay? Now, I want to think about what two factors or what two numbers am I going to put here so that when I multiply them, their product is 6, but when I add them, their product is 5. Or I'm sorry, their sum is 5. So I want to multiply these two numbers to get 6, add these two numbers to get 5. So I need to think about, well, what are my factors of 6? I have 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Well, I can't add 1 and 6 to get 5. Let's see, 2 and 3. 2 times 3 does give me 6, and 2 plus 3 does give me 5. So I'm going to use this set of factors and plug them in, a 2 and a 3. And because I need a positive product, positive 2 times positive 3, yep, that gives me a positive 6, and a positive 2 plus a positive 3 gives me a positive 5, I know both of these need to be plus, or positive 2, positive 3. So that right there is my answer. If I want to check myself, I certainly can. I can do that box method, and I can box it out to where I have an x and a 2 and an x and a 3, and I end up with x squared. 3 times x gives me 3x. X times 2 gives me 2x, and 2 times 3 gives me 6. I'm going to combine my like terms there, so I end up with x squared plus 2x plus 3x gives me 5x plus that 6. And this is, in fact, the same trinomial I started with. So I know that my solution is correct. My factor is correct. Okay? So basically I'm thinking x and an x. What two factors can I use to multiply to get 6 and add to get 5? And that's what I want to plug in. Let's try another one. X squared plus 4x minus 21. So again, I know I'm going to want to factor it. So easy start is going to be an x and an x, because x times x gives me x squared. Easy enough. Now I got to think about, I need the product of negative 21, and I need a sum of 4. Okay? So let's start thinking about, what are my factors of 21? Well, I have 1 and 21. I have 7 and 3. Well, I know I'm going to need at least one of those factors to be negative, because a negative times a positive gives me a negative answer. So I know 1 and 21, I can't add those to get me to 4. But 7 and 3, I can play with those to get me to 4, and I can also play with those to get me to 21. So let's work with 7 and 3. So now if I think about 7 times 3, if those are positive 7 times a positive 3, that would give me a positive 21. So one of those is going to have to be negative. So let's see what happens if I make my 7 negative. Negative 7 times 3, yep, gives me a negative 21. Negative 7 plus 3 gives me a negative 4. So let me see what happens if I make my 3 be negative instead. 7 times a negative 3, yes, gives me negative 21. 7 plus a negative 3, or 7 minus 3, good, gives me a positive 4. So I know it's going to be 7, and he's positive. And I know it's going to be a 3, and he's negative. Okay? A trick to help you with this is, if I have these two factors, and I know one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative, whatever my sum is, if my sum's positive, then the larger of these two factors must also be positive. So that whenever I add these two factors, if the largest is positive, my sum will be positive. So just kind of a way to keep that in mind. But this is my answer. That's my factor. X plus 7 times x minus 3. Okay? Let me show you one scenario where you can't factor. So let's say I have x squared minus x plus 5. I'm going to try to factor this trinomial. So I know I'm going to start out with an x and an x. So in my next step, I want a product of 5 and a sum of negative 1, because there's an understood 1 there, right? So thinking about my factors of 5 are 1 and 5, and that's it. So 1 times 5 gives me 5, but I can't add or subtract or manipulate 1 and 5 to get me down to a negative 1. There's no combination that I can use to get there. So this one cannot be factored. This is just not factorable. It's not factored. And you may run into some problems like that where you absolutely just can't factor it. As you go through 6.6, you're going to run across several other problems like this. Look through your notes to help you. But that is the basis. Basically, you want to see what factors can multiply to give you the 5 and add to give you that middle term. Good luck.